Good evening. I want to make sure we bring excitement and enthusiasm to our ACIM Talks tonight. Somebody's got to do it right. And if it's no one else, well, it would certainly fall upon me, Reverend Jim, to bring some excitement here. I am very pleased to be here with you all as usual, and early happy 4th of July to you. Is there anything you want to say or to announce now that we're recording before we get into our studies tonight? All right, I guess we got everything covered and everybody's still alive and kicking and spirit's still moving. So why don't we just get into the flow with that? I did just want to let you know that the July edition of my All Is Well newsletter went out today. And as usual, I hope you'll take a look. I hope you'll like it and let me know your comments if you're so inclined. With that said, if everyone has the agenda, we're supposed to begin with our Oracle Text Reading tonight. And believe it or not, we are on the last section of chapter 3, our group 1 Oracle Text Reading. When we finish this section, it starts on page 49, and it's called Creating versus the Self-Image. After that, we had selected for group 2, chapter 12. It's called the Holy Spirit's Curriculum. So I'm excited to see what insights we can get from that one as well. Let's start here, and after that we'll be back on our Unity and A Course in Miracles book. Sherilyn, I don't know if she's reading yet. I know she was here, but she had to leave. At any rate, how about Judy? Would you be our first reader, please?
Sure.
And then Debbie, Joan is 3, Ron is 4, Dee is 5. I'll be 6, and Sherilyn can be 7 when she comes back. So do you all know where we are? Page 49 in the text?
Yep.
All right, well, let's do it. Go right ahead, Judy.
Creating versus the self-image. Every system of thought must have a starting point. It begins with either a making or a creating, a difference we have already discussed. Their resemblance lies in their power as foundations. Their difference lies in what rests upon them. Both are cornerstones for systems of belief by which one lives. It is a mistake to believe that a thought system based on lies is weak. Nothing made by a child of God is without power. It is essential to realize this, because otherwise you will be unable to escape from the prison you have made.
By the way, just to review, what is the difference that Jesus has already discussed? What's the difference between making and creating?
Only God creates.
Okay.
And I use the word we make up We make things up.
Are you saying we don't create?
Well, that's what the text is saying. I guess we create in heaven, it says, but not on this plane.
Because it says we co-create with God. That's a prominent phrase too.
But not on this plane, right?
Uh,
Do we? Or
it's a
do
good
we?
thing I'm going over this.
I
Here,
guess we
let's
do
start here.
co-create with God here. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, let me offer Jim's version and y'all chime in. Okay. You create from abundance.
Mhm.
You can't help it. You're just so full, it overflows. It shares of its own. You don't have to do anything. You make out of a need, a perception that you need things.
So that's a false perception. I thought the closest we could get here is a true perception. I mean, does true perception co-create?
I
Or
would
just
think that true perception allows me to let go and let God.
true?
True perception is one in which I let the Holy Spirit just work through me, so that that flow from spirit is my connection with co-creating.
Okay, so when I allow Holy Spirit to flow through me, when I am connected to the flow of Holy Spirit, I'm co-creating.
Because I realize I have no needs, that I can count on what I am, right? To
I like that
give me
distinction.
everything I need. Mhm.
That one is coming through lack and one is coming through abundance.
Yes, ma'am.
I like that.
What the rest of you is? Hi, Kathleen. Thank you for being here. Good to see you.
Mhm.
What do y'all think of? Is that okay with everybody?
Mm-hmm.
You create from abundance and you make things from a perceived need. Need comes from fear.
Mm-hmm.
So if that helps. All right, I won't beat that up. Thank you, Judy. Debbie, paragraph. Was there anything else in that paragraph? Paragraph 1.
Reverend,
Yes.
I like the sentence, nothing made by a child of God is without power.
Mm-hmm.
And why do you like it?
Because it shows me that I can really mess things up because I have that power within me.
Yeah. And it makes me think about lessons 16, 17, 18, 19. You know, I have no neutral thoughts. I see no neutral things. You remember that kind of series of lessons? And so to think that we can have an idle thought is simply, we're not able to have idle thoughts. Because as you were saying, Judy, it's going to give power. It's either going to give power to fear or to love, to light or to darkness, to
Correct.
victim or creator. But it's going to have to fall into one of those categories. So, yeah, I think that's a very prominent statement also. Thanks. Anything else you want to say about it, Judy?
Well, I think a lot of people on this planet don't realize that they have this power. They are creating their own lives. They take on the role of victim and think that something outside themselves is creating their circumstance, when it is their own thought system that is creating their circumstance.
Mhm.
So when I took that change of consciousness, my entire life changed.
When you took what? Say that again.
When I realized that I'm not a victim,
Yeah,
I am making the choices,
yeah.
that I have a consciousness that I can choose again. And my entire life changed.
Mhm. Mhm.
People are afraid of their own power.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes. And for good reason, because they don't think they have any. They think all the power is outside them.
Mhm.
No.
It's also a cop out, because rather than look at the situation, you just defer to something, someone, or something else.
Mhm.
It's a less than courageous approach, isn't it?
Mhm. It,
Absolutely, because it's saying that I'm not responsible, and I am responsible.
Right, right. It deals with a fundamental premise of what I am.
Mhm.
And so being a creator comes with responsibility. And to be quite honest, there are just a lot of us that secretly delight that they can just stand back and go, oh, I can't do anything, I'm powerless. Some of the Bible stories where the beggar is there and he can't get to the sea, and everybody to everybody no into the pool, and
Right.
everybody gets there before him, and because he can't walk, and somebody tells him get up and walk. That never occurred to you as a possibility. And he got up and walked, right? So part of it is just we just get into the habit of not being responsible and find a kind of comfort there.
part of it, though, is that we were not taught that there was another possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, I don't know if it's just shirking responsibility or you don't even have a clue. When I played victim role, when I filled that role, I didn't have a clue that I had a choice to
Yes.
see life differently. So it
Mhm.
wasn't that I was chicken. It wasn't that I was, I mean, I
Didn't know, right? You
But-
just didn't know.
did, yeah.
So I totally understand that. And we could probably go into the widespread reasons for that. I mean, remember, these are the same people that said the earth was flat
Right,
and that
I-
wanted to kill you if you said otherwise.
right.
Yeah.
How many of uh, today's crackpots turn out to be tomorrow's geniuses
Uh-huh.
because they
Mhm.
chose to think outside the box? That's what
Yeah.
our problem is. And believe me, there are a lot more people like them than there are like us. Our
Mhm.
numbers are rising, but this is what we're up against,
Mhm.
right? And this is what perhaps only the Holy Spirit can help us overcome.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't think we consciously are aware, but
Yeah.
unconsciously we're being led to come to come to the realization that there is more, than what we think there is.
Yes. And so the outcome is inevitable. The Course says all eyes will be open eventually.
Wow.
What is the role of the miracle worker then? To save time. Have you heard that? It's already happened. That's why this book can guarantee everything it's saying, because it's already happened. But it's up to free will, right? So that's where we get into the personal intervals of time. So it's not like the outcome is going to change.
No.
It's that we can help speed up the
Yeah.
process.
I think the miracle worker creates a platform for someone to realize what he hasn't realized.
Yes.
Demonstrate.
Yes. I can't make you, but I can demonstrate a way that you may seem valid.
Yeah. Like, like what Dee was saying, you don't know what you don't know, but the
Yes.
miracle worker can create the seed that helps to blossom.
And it's not so much by talking as it is by demonstrating that
Exactly.
there is another way to live. And so the more that we can do that, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Because that's how you change minds, by letting the light shine. Because not to negate talking, that's part of it. But talk is cheap no matter, it just has so much power. But the demonstration has a lot more power than just talking alone. So we have to talk the talk and
Walk the walk.
The walk.
yes, ma'am. Okay. And that's how we help brothers and sisters to change their minds. So we're on the same page.
Yeah, walking the walk makes the light bulb go off into someone else's
Yeah.
being.
Because everybody's talking and everything people say is not the truth. But when you live it, that has a lot of credentials with people.
And
I
oftentimes,
think the miracle work. Oh,
Go
are you
ahead.
finished, Kathleen?
Go ahead.
I think the miracle work dehypnotizes us because we've been hypnotized to believe the ego thought system.
Correct. And do you see on what a large scale
Yeah,
this has occurred?
yeah.
So it's not easy for us, but it's not going to be us doing it.
Right.
Right.
So relax, right?
Yeah. Oftentimes a spirit voice in me will say, Kathleen, you have to step beyond the words.
Okay. That's what it says to me also. And it'll give you just the right thought at the right time. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to describe, but when that voice, I'll stop on a dime to go do something that came to me. It just feels right. And most of the time, it was the right action at the right time. So there's
Probably all the time.
there's this guidance that you can depend on from the macro to the micro. And I'm learning to depend on it more and more. It's making my life happier. Plus, you know how lazy I am. I don't have to do anything except as I'm told. Oh, it's all right with me. You know, we only did one paragraph so far, right? Shall we continue?
Sure.
All right, we're up to Debbie.
Okay.
Jeez.
You cannot resolve the authority problem by depreciating the power of your mind.
There you go.
To do so is to deceive yourself, and this will hurt you because you really understand the strength of the mind. You also realize that you cannot weaken it any more than you can weaken God. The devil is a frightening concept because he seems to be extremely powerful and extremely active. He is perceived as a force in combat with God, battling him for possession of his creations. The devil deceives by lies and builds kingdoms in which everything is in direct opposition to God. Yet he attracts men rather than repels them, for they are willing to sell him their souls in return for the gifts of no real worth. This makes absolutely no sense.
Thanks, Jeff. Let's do one more. Joni, paragraph 3.
Okay. We have discussed the fall or separation before, but its meaning must be clearly understood. The separation is a system of thought real enough in time, though not in eternity. All beliefs are real to the believer. The fruit of only one tree was forbidden in the symbolic garden, but God could not have forbidden it, or it could not have been eaten.
Okay.
If God knows his children, and I assure you that he does, would he have put them in a position where their own destruction was possible? The forbidden tree was named the tree of knowledge. Yet God created knowledge and gave it freely to his creations. The symbolism here has been given many interpretations, but you may be sure that any interpretation that sees either God or his creations as capable of destroying their own purpose is in error.
I think there's a lot in each of those paragraphs for us to discuss. Let's take a look at paragraph 3. Anything standing out to you there?
I like sentence 3. All beliefs are real to the believer.
Yeah, I mean, they were made by virtue of the believer giving them reality. Within our conceptual framework, there are these cubby holes, and one cubby hole is called possible, and another one is impossible. As a matter of fact, it's not even a cubby hole, is it? Because it's impossible. Why even make a space for it? So the fact that we entertain this as possible makes it real, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Whether it's real or not in fact and truth. Thanks, Joan.
I like sentence 2. The separation is a system of The separation is system of thought, real enough in time, though not enough in eternity. And it just tells me that that separation, that thought cannot sustain me. It has no power to sustain me, whereas eternity does. Eternity is true, is the truth, and is forever.
How do you know?
I just know that.
Ah,
It's something that is so innate that I feel it in every cell of my body.
Mhm.
I'll tell you where I am on it. Okay, this is how I got to be a hybrid spiritual person out of my background. I don't know. But when I think along those lines, it makes me feel good. And if it's not true, I can't change it. So all I'm left with as coming from an author is that my author's nature is good.
Mhm.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know. I have no choice. And the more hopeful choice is that whoever created me for something good. Now, maybe whatever brought me about, I'll end up in oblivion. What can I do? I can hope against hope and act accordingly, right? But I don't know. And so I'm just going to be honest, Kathleen, no disrespect.
Yeah.
But that's an outcome that I would choose. Faith is the belief in things unseen, things. Okay,
Yep.
that's kind of, I just don't know.
And that's basically where I'm coming from. And
Okay.
I've always thought, some people call it death, I call it transitioning. I think
Yes.
transitioning will be the best experience of my whole entire existence. I
So far, right?
I don't know where I'm going, but I know I'm going somewhere.
Yeah.
And when I get there, I'll know I'm there.
It makes me feel good while I'm here. It makes me less fearful while
Yep.
I'm here. I mean, so if it's not true, I had a good time. I
Yeah.
had a better time than suffering
know.
twice.
It's a happy illusion.
Yes. And I hope that illusion looks like the real world that the course talks about.
Mhm.
And I'm just going with the program that I hope will make me happy in the hereafter. And it certainly makes me happier in the here and now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of a common sense decision for me that goes, I don't know. Anyhow,
Yeah.
thank you for your comments there. I wanted to, yes, Debbie?
Oh, you still want more sentences or?
Well, I wanted to make a comment as we got
Okay, I'm sorry.
into paragraph 3, if that's okay.
Sure.
You remember we talk about who's the doctor? He wrote Hawkins, Power versus Force. And it's based on vibration and kinesiology, things like that. And it had a hierarchy, and it went down into attitudes like anger. But remember, there were things that vibrated even lower than anger,
Mhm.
like depression was lower. than anger.
Mhm.
So once you beat people down into depression, paragraph 3, we have discussed the fall or separation before, but its meaning must be clearly understood. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, hold on. It's at the end of the previous paragraph in sentence 7. Yet he attracts men. Who's he? Do you remember? I think it's the ego, right?
Yeah, or the devil. Yeah.
The devil,
maybe.
yes, the devil deceives by lies and builds kingdoms in which everything is in direct opposition to God, yet he attracts men rather than repels them, and they are willing to sell him their souls in returns for gifts of no real worth. You have to have a pretty depressed constituency or market who would sell their souls for something. What do they think of themselves that they could be tempted by these things? What state must they have been put in terms of power or powerlessness that they would sell their souls?
Well, that's me. That's what I've done. It's not a they.
What do you
I
mean?
mean,
That's
every time I value a false idol, every time I put something before
Mhm.
God.
But how many times do you do that now?
Not now, but I did that most of my life.
Yes. And again,
Mhm.
I'm just trying to show the odds that we're up against.
Yeah.
We're not only dealing with people that don't know, we're dealing with people that don't want to know. They'd rather just suffer the little they do have than having the courage to reach out for more.
So why do you think that is?
That's how much this idea of separate heavens and still trying to make it successful, it's a flop. But rather than choose once again, there's no hope, even though there is hope.
Mhm.
You take no hope. How depressed must you be to not even want to get up to find hope again? And I'm just saying, to me, that's a history, if you will, of what we're up against.
Absolutely.
Debbie, you had a comment, but I wanted to go next into paragraph 4, but let's talk, see what you want to offer here. Deb?
Well, it's probably a simple point. We probably don't even have to make it, but sentence 4, the fruit of only one tree was forbidden
Yeah.
in the symbolic garden. It's like saying, just ignore all those other trees, pay attention to this one. And this is the one that's important. Like, that was it. Yeah.
But I would see it the other way, where God said, don't pay attention to this one because you can't fool with it. You can do all the others, but don't fool with this. Well, to creatures like us, it's like saying, don't think of zebras.
Mhm.
Right.
Immediately.
But doesn't God know us
Right.
better than to
But
me?
I
That's
think
like
it's
saying,
significant that Jesus
yeah.
here negates this notion that God forbade anything
Okay.
and says that the Bible is, as we understand it, is has been misinterpreted
Right.
to say
Mhm.
that God forbid our doing something. By the way, that goes back to the same idea of omnipotence. It says, if God forbid it, how could they have eaten the fruit?
Mm-hmm.
You can't disobey God. That's the same thing I've been saying about the idea of separation. It's like when the prodigal son asked his dad for permission to go to the faraway land. Dad said, okay, but how could he have known about the faraway land in the first place without dad's permission? So when the prodigal finally came back home thinking he had had a bad idea, it wasn't a bad idea. It was his awakening, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Do you see the Adam and Eve apple eating scenario might have simply been part of a plan? Of course, you know, Reverend Jim, all right, I'm spending too much time here, right? Comments? All right, are we doing justice to these or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're in paragraph 5, right?
No, we're on 4 and I'm reading, even though I
Oh,
lost the
thanks,
picture.
Ron. No wonder I was getting off. Okay, go ahead, Ron. Mhm.
Eating of the fruit of the tree of knowledge is a symbolic expression of usurping the ability for self-creating. This is the only sense in which God and his creations are not co-creators. The belief that they are is implicit in the self-concept or the tendency of the self to make an image of itself. Images are perceived, not known. Knowledge cannot deceive, but perception can. You can perceive yourself as self-creating, but you cannot do more than believe it. You cannot make it true. And as I said before, when you finally perceive correctly, you can only be glad that you cannot. Until then, however, the belief that you can is the foundation stone in which your thought system and all your defenses are used to attack ideas that might bring it to light. You still believe you are an image of your own making. Your mind is split with the Holy Spirit on this point, and there is no resolution while you believe the one thing that is literally inconceivable. That is why you cannot create and are filled with fear about what you make.
All right, let's do one more and then we can talk. D, would you do 5?
The mind can make the belief in separation very real and very fearful. And this belief is the devil. It is powerful, active, destructive, and clearly in opposition to God because it literally denies his fatherhood. Look at your life and see what the devil has made, but realize that this making will surely dissolve in the light of truth because its foundation is a lie. Your creation by God is the only foundation that cannot be shaken because the light is in it. Your starting point is truth, and you must return to your beginning. Much has been seen since then, but nothing has really happened. Your self is still in peace, even though your mind is in conflict. You have not yet gone back far enough And that is why you become so fearful.
Mm.
As you approach the beginning, you feel the fear of the destruction of your thought system upon you as if it were the fear of death. There is no death, but there is a belief in death.
Why don't we finish, and we'll have 3 paragraphs to talk about, but that's okay. At least we'll finish our oracle here tonight. Is that all right, Kathleen? You want to do 6?
Sure.
Boy, this
Great.
is good. Go ahead.
The branch that bears no fruit will be cut off and will wither away. Be glad. The light will shine from true foundation of life, and your own thought system will stand corrected. It cannot stand otherwise. You who fear salvation are choosing death. Life and death, light and darkness, knowledge and perception are irreconcilable. To believe that they can be reconciled is to believe that God and his Son cannot. Only the oneness of knowledge is free of conflict. Your kingdom is not of this world because it was given you from beyond this world. Only in this world is the idea of an authority problem meaningful. The world is not left by death, but by truth, and truth can be known by all those for whom the kingdom was created and for whom it waits.
So let's talk about, what is it, 5 and 6? But I'll tell you something, because it's really impacted me greatly. You remember back last summer, we were doing the supplements. And near the end of the Song of Prayer, there was this statement that hit me like a lightning bolt. It said, death is reward, not punishment. Does anybody else remember that anywhere? I'll have to look it up so I can quote it. It was very impactful for me. And some of the last things it said here at the end of paragraph 6, sentence 11, the world is not left by death, but by truth, right?
Right.
And truth can be known by all those for whom the kingdom was created and for whom it waits. But do you see how it would make me think about that other statement? Because generally speaking, death is thought of something negative at the very least to go through. And then this last paragraph 6, the branch that bears no fruit will be cut off and will wither away. And he says that's not a bad thing. You see how it kind of juxtaposes some of the traditional beliefs. So that's what hit me. But please, let's talk about this and see if we can close this chapter out, this oracle chapter, with your comments here. Anything stood out when we were reading through 5 and 6, or any of it for that matter?
Reverend Jim, this is Judy.
Yes. Yeah.
What really struck me was in that paragraph 3, sentence 2. The separation is a system of thought real enough in time, but not in eternity. So in my mind, I'm looking at this whole thing we're talking about is we are still and have always been at one with God. we've just taken a vacation into this holograph that we call time and this physical existence that we have. So that goes back to paragraph 5, sentence 8. Yourself, the true self of me, is still in peace,
Yeah.
even though your mind is in conflict.
Yeah. That's like before we start recording, Judy, and you and I were talking about when we look in the mirror.
Mhm.
And when I look in the mirror, I don't see this old guy. I still see this pretty young guy in the mirror, and I have to remind myself that that's not what other people see now. I'm 77, and what must I look like to a 20-year-old? But when
Do-
I look in the mirror every day, that's not the me that I
No.
see. And I think that your references there, yourself is still in peace, even though your mind is in conflict. There's something in me that's ageless, apparently. And there's
We
something
are
to look out from. Go ahead, Judy.
we
Yeah.
are ageless. And I couldn't care less who is perceiving me. That's their issue. It's not mine, right?
Well,
The I of
hold
me.
up. Since we're so deep here on ACIM Talks, if we're all one, isn't everyone's issue my issue?
No.
Yes.
Because everyone's issue, we're going back to the everyone being in this state we call time. But the oneness is in eternity. So we are all one in eternity. That's the perception that we are all journeying towards.
Okay. Other comments on that? Are my brother's issues my issues? And
I
if
think
you
only
want
if
to
I'm,
split it into level 1, level 2, I'd be interested in your comments. D?
I think if I'm triggered by them, they are my issues to begin with. I can have if I'm not triggered by them, I can have compassion for my brother, but I'm not seeing it the same as them.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I'm triggered, then
What
I
do
am
you mean
seeing
triggered?
it that. Huh?
What do you mean triggered?
Well, if some behavior or something they're saying or doing gets to me,
Mhm.
then it is initially it's my projection. And
But
if it
seeing
doesn't
them
get to me
truly
and that what?
seeing them truly mitigates triggers.
Correct.
Right.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of people say you're always pushing my buttons, or there are people that push my button, or there are people that trigger me. Let me stick with the button metaphor, because Jesus would say the goal is not to get people to stop pushing your buttons. The goal is for you to become buttonless.
Right?
And to see that I'm pushing my own buttons.
Yeah. I think in
Okay. And the way that I have no buttons to push
Mhm.
is from perceiving you truly, regardless of your particular activities. You see what I mean?
Yes. I think you're
That's-
saying the same thing I was saying. Yeah.
I think in paragraph 4, to me, the sentence that really epitomizes what we're saying is sentence 5.
Yes.
knowledge cannot deceive, but
Yes.
perception can. And
Yes.
so it's where our thought system originates from now. If my thought system is originating with knowledge, then nothing can trigger me. But if it's still originating from perception, then I'm all over the place.
Buttons, I'm
Yeah,
changing.
yeah,
I'm excitable.
yeah,
And so it is a long path, if you will, it would seem, but it can be done with the help of the Holy Spirit.
exactly.
So, I mean, I still have buttons, but now when they're being pushed, I can deal with them a little better consciously instead of the old knee-jerk reactions I used to have. I might not catch it in the moment, but I'm getting better at even catching it so I don't fall into the trap in real time even.
It's
Mhm.
like when the little voice comes in my head and says, "Well, Kathleen, where is that originating? Where are
Yes.
you perceiving that from?" And then I go, "Oh, it's in that way out world where nothing's right." Or,
But at first, I would act badly first,
uh-huh,
and then shortly thereafter reflect on it.
uh-huh,
And I'm trying to get to where I can reflect on it in real time so that the thing doesn't even occur.
mm-hmm.
And I'm making progress there. So I find that very helpful. I
Yeah.
see Sherilyn is back with us. She's been working her poor kids to death. They're moving furniture and helping her. So she decided to give them a break and some compassion. Hi.
Yes, they're on their way home.
All right. You see, you know where we are? We're in
Yes,
the, okay. And
yes.
we're about to finish up.
Okay, I will catch the recording tomorrow and catch up with you.
Thank you. That'd be great. Any other comments here on section 7?
Yeah, I like what Kathleen said in paragraph 5, sentence 6
Yes.
states that again, your starting point. So its point is truth. And that, that's with starting with the right premise. If we start with the truth, we'll end with the truth. If we start with the ego, we'll end with the ego.
Yeah. And you ever lie and find you have to tell another lie to help cover up the first lie, and then it just grows in the wrong direction? One thing is, if telling the truth has negative consequences, it doesn't have nearly as many as all the negative things I build up by having to tell lies.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Course says it takes a lot of energy to uphold a lie, but it takes no energy at all to let the truth be what it is. Now, maybe it'll have some negative content or whatever, but you take care of that and move on. But when I weave this web of lies, oh man, the effort it's taken. And yet, for all the effort, eventually the lies seem to come out and everything crumbles anyway. So I say, why not start and stay with the truth and just be one way? To hell with it. I'm just going to tell the truth. What do you think, Ron? I'm looking at your handsome but pensive visage.
I've kind of not been listening that well because I'm trying to get my computer to show my picture again. So I did probably by mistake, so I'm not gonna answer that question.
Well,
I unplugged my computer and then I
really?
plugged it back in and I got the pictures back of all of us.
Okay. Isn't that funny? Spirit said, call on Ron. Maybe I could see something that was going on. Let me then ask, the other quiet one here tonight is Joan. Joan, is this a satisfactory talk we're doing here tonight? Is it worth your time?
Definitely, definitely. I got a lot out of what different people said. And I
Yeah.
wrote myself some notes even, so I'll remember.
It's quite a bit here. And do you see how all of this comes from the authorship problem, which is stated in slightly different words here in this section, which is it is self-image true? Are in what we see ourselves as, or is creation true? So is it really up to me? This is kind of going back to me and Judy here, right? Whatever, I don't care what I believe, the only thing that'll stand is what is.
Mhm.
I'm standing with a what is that says God is love. Because it's very frightening to stand any other way. Who would want God not being love to be true? Raise your hand. Okay. So I'm going to go with the one that feels good here and may have big payoffs hereafter. The other one does not serve me here, let alone oblivion is not a goal I want to achieve. All right. We finished chapter 3. I like doing these. So next time we'll get back to our ACIM and Unity. And we were just getting ready to start chapter 3, all about the Holy Trinity and what the course and what Unity has to say about the Holy Trinity. And bookmark your course book for chapter 12 for next week, okay?
Mhm.
Thank you for being here. I think it's been another productive hour of just having a forum where spirit can start working and we can do some talks in a spiritual way. Any final comments or criticism or yeah?
I was just
Great,
gonna say
thank you.
thank you, Jim. This
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie, and I'm glad you're back with us. Okay. All right. I will say a hearty good evening to you once again. Happy 4th of July. And I'll look forward to seeing y'all here next time. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Namaste.
Have a blessed week, everybody.
You too.
Excellent.
You too.
Bye-bye.